Congressman Mike Lawler, who is also on the Foreign Affairs and Financial Services Committees. Congressman, thank you for joining us this afternoon. I want to get to this headline here. You've got yesterday, or these meetings today, and then last month you've got Prime Minister Justin Trudeau coming down to Mar-a-Lago. Do you think we'd see this type of engagement if it weren't for the threat of tariffs?
No, I don't, frankly. I think obviously tariffs can be an effective tool in forcing folks to the negotiating table. I think President Trump used them effectively in his first term. And obviously you saw how quickly both Mexico and Canada responded just over a month ago. The fact is that they need to work with us when it comes to securing our border. Earlier this year, we introduced legislation in Congress to force the Biden administration to take action on our northern border, where fentanyl was pouring in, so much so that it could kill 270 million Americans. And we saw double the number of border crossings through 2024 that we saw in 2023. So we have a crisis both at our southern and northern borders when it comes to the undaunted flow of migrants coming through, as well as fentanyl. And we need to crack down on it. And I think that's what President Trump is signaling to our allies in Canada and Mexico, that they need to take this seriously and they need to work with us, or there's going to be hell to pay when it comes to trade. You know, Congressman, you usually don't think of Canada and the United States as having much of a confrontational relationship, but has it been? Have the Canadian government officials been easy to work with on this, or do they need some prodding here? Look, I think President Trump's approach, obviously, when it comes to foreign affairs, has been different than presidents in the past. But frankly, it's necessary. I think many of our allies have taken the U.S. for granted for a very long time. They don't necessarily always feel they need to come to the negotiating table, and they feel that they have leverage in these discussions. But the fact is that Canada relies heavily on the United States, and we rely on them in part. But the reality is that they are very reliant on the U.S. economy and trade. And so it is critical that if we're going to be, strong partners, strong allies, that they work together with us on critical issues, including securing our border and stopping the massive influx of migrants from Canada into the U.S. I want to talk about the other half of this equation, and that's the tariffs that the president-elect is threatening. This item appeared in the Wall Street Journal recently, and in it, there's the argument, quote, that the problem is that Mr. Trump's tariff program would energize and empower the elites by directing governments to impose levies on allies and adversaries alike. He'd be giving more strength to the swamp monsters he's supposed to be defeating. So do tariffs work as a stick, perhaps, to get some concessions from allies and adversaries, but then implemented? Is there a real problem here? Look, if it was tariffs alone, obviously that would not be an effective tool. The fact is we use tariffs as a leverage point with foreign countries. We use them as a leverage point to get companies to come back to the United States and to develop their products here. But it's also the tax and regulatory climate here in the United States that is critical. And the president has talked extensively about how we are going to tackle that, not only by extending many of the provisions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, but obviously going after the regulatory regime here in the U.S. And making it easier for people to do business here in the U.S. And that obviously is paramount when you're dealing with all of this. And the last thing I'd say is, look, energy policy is critical. And we need to increase domestic production of energy, which impacts the cost of goods, the cost of transportation, and the cost of manufacturing. And that is critical if we're going to get companies to bring back their operations here to the United States. Okay, Congressman Mike Lawler, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.